So I made these 3 self-tapes as if I were auditioning for a TV show called Ted Lasso. Do you know Ted Lasso?
I've watched it 4 times all the way through.
They got a 4th season coming. Did you know?
I know, and I'm going to watch all of it again before season 4 happens.
I started myself too.
Hey, welcome to the Social Grenade podcast. I'm Robin Wilson. As usual, we're going to be talking about all things that are out there in the world of marketing. And this is my really, really good friend, Dave Hudson. And Dave and I met at an event in Georgia called Dealer Knows Summer Camp. Joe Webb introduced us. We got to know each other over the couple of years that we did that event with Joe, and just really, really fell in love with his heart and his story and his journey. And I think that he's probably one of the, what do they call those things whenever, those little hidden secrets that you just don't know about, but they're sitting right here under your nose and you should be using them and for your dealership and for your marketing assets. This guy is amazing. Dave, welcome to Social Grenade Podcast.
What an honor. I'm so glad to be here.
Absolutely. I mean, if someone, people post all the time, they're like, if you had a gun to your head and you had to talk for 30 minutes, what would you talk about? And I'd be like, social media, marketing, whatever, storytelling, whatever the things are. And I think that a lot of people miss that piece of what marketing is. I always use the analogy of, like, especially in automotive, right? They go with this tactic. And I think about it, if you thought about what they do online in real life, it would look like this. So I always say this, every big city has a Martin Luther King Boulevard, right? Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Every big city has one. And I think about how they do marketing as like just some random dudes in a dealership shirt driving down that road on a busy day with the windows rolled down yelling, Nissan Versas for $199, Nissan Versas for, oh, they're just shouting into the wilderness. And they don't know if these people even know what a Nissan is. Do they need a Versa? Do they need something more? They're just shouting at people and with no direction as to how to bring that audience, the right audience in for that Nissan Versa.
Yeah.
And so I know that you're a fantastic storyteller, but just tell us, like, what is your journey? How did you start out and how did you get sucked into automotive?
Oh, that's a really great question. So, I've always been a storyteller. And from early on, I knew that was, there's something very special about storytelling. And I learned it when I was watching an Elvis movie when I was like pre-kindergarten. I remember this. Okay. And it was King Creole. And it's shot in it. Right. And I thought of, like, they shot him. I can't believe it. I thought it was real. Right. And I started crying and my mom had to explain to me that it's a movie, and she explained the storytelling magic, and I was hooked. So from then on, I knew that storytelling in some capacity was what I've been put here to do.
I love it. And then how did you like decide that this was going to be your career?
Well, I just knew that it had to be. And as a matter of fact, a buddy of mine, so a big thing that I wanted, one of the major goals of my life was to be an actor in television and movies and this kind of stuff. And a filmmaker, and just to be part of that world, and even commercials. I watched commercials and I thought, wow, how powerful, so beautiful. And so my dad, by the way, was in the automotive industry, and so was my mom, and so was my sister. They all sold cars. My dad was a GM, he was a sales manager, he was in it. And I had a buddy of mine tell me, you'll sell cars one day. And I thought, I don't know if I'll sell cars, but I might make movies about it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so then fast forward to the Improv Olympic, Chicago, Illinois, and I'm taking classes at the Improv Olympic, the famous Improv Olympic, and I meet the one and only Joe Webb.
He's the king of improv, for sure.
It's amazing. He's so amazing. He's so amazing. And so we were fast friends. And from immediately, we decided to start making some of our own comedic stuff. Well, he was in automotive. And he was working for a company called Arlington Toyota in Arlington Heights, Illinois. And they're run by the Vicari brothers, or the Vicari brothers, depending on which one you talk to.
Right.
One says Vicari, one says Vicari. I can't remember which one. And I made my first automotive project. And so Joe Webb really ushered me into the automotive world. And so I felt a real kinship with automotive. And so I really love being in this sector.
I love it too. And the thing is that, I mean, you're almost doomed to be in it with your lineage, right? Like, like there wasn't like a whole lot of choice. And I didn't come from automotive. So it was like the first time that I was pitching a dealer on social media marketing, he's like, yeah, but you have to work here. And I'm like, yeah, I don't want to work there. And he's like, yeah, well, you kind of need to. And I'm like, no, I don't think I do. I mean, we had this whole back and forth argument going on, and he finally convinced me to work at the dealership. And he was right. I needed to understand that. But at the time, I was like, no, I don't. None of this sounds like fun. I don't want to do this.
My dad used to tell me, he'd come, when I'd see him after work or whatever, and he'd talking about the quote unquote brain damage he was dealing with. But he was great at it. My dad, he was in the Chicagoland area, sort of a legend in the industry. And he was just great at it. And he's still he's retired now. And, but just him out and about, he's such a charismatic dude. My dad. Yeah. I'm real proud of him, real glad to be his son.
And I think it'd be really hard. I mean, I don't know for sure, and I don't know a lot that are, but I think it would be very hard to be an introvert and run a dealership. You know what I'm saying? Because it's such a people business that you really have to be peopling all the time.
Yeah. The only introvert that I really heard about over the years, there's a very famous group here called Solozzi Edelson in Chicagoland area. And they had these commercials that were just famous. Even national brands came and started using some of their guys. And they had a little phrase where they'd they'd fan out some bills and they'd say, at Solozzi Edelson, where you always save more money. Now, Nick Solozzi, he was the front man. Maury Edelson, he was a little more of the introvert, and he was in the back. So if you're going to be an introvert, you better have a partner who is,
right.
The extrovert.
Now, I do know some dealer principals who are major introverts, and they're wise enough to hire that extrovert to be that person because they know that that's what it's going to take.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with that 1,000,000%.
But if you're selling them, you best know how to deal with people.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I mean, there were times when I would see the dealership hire some people, and I'd go, I'm not getting that one. Like, I am not getting that hire right there.
Yeah.
And inevitably, like all of the things that cause you anxiety as an introvert are the things that you're going to have to confront on a daily basis. So you either think that automotive is going to be therapy for you, and you're going to get past all of this garbage that's in your chest every time those things pop up, or you're short-lived for that career.
Right. That's true.
Okay, so what else? What else on your journey? So I know that being an actor is still paramount in what your goals are and what you're achieving on the regular. So let's talk about that part of your life. What have you done? What are you most proud of? And what do you think it's going to look like in the next 5 to 10 years?
Thanks for that question. So when I was 50, I went to a Tony Robbins event. Big fan of Tony Robbins. Matter of fact, when my mom died, who also was in automotive, and I have a story about her soon. But he called me. He left me a voice message on Instagram when my mom died.
Tony Robbins did?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. I wrote this short screenplay about his Thanksgiving story. It was an event that happened in his life that made him who he was. Wrote this short screenplay. On a random post on Instagram, I said, hey, wrote a short screenplay. Love your brother. I listened my whole life. And then he sent me a message saying, this is beautiful. Can't wait to learn more. Sending you all my best, Tony. And for 1.5 years, every quarter or so, we'd have an exchange. Can you believe that?
Wow.
And then I shared that my mom was sick. I shared that she died, and he left me a voice message. It's unbelievable. So I go to this Tony Robbins, and finally I go to an event. And at the event, we go through a process called the Dickens experience, or the Dickens process, named after Charles Dickens. Right? Ebenezer Scrooge, he has his lucid dream. It goes past, present, and future. And they show him the trauma that happened in his life that made him to be such a traumatic individual. And then he was going to die alone, and people are going to celebrate, and that affected him. So he goes to the window, wakes up, and he's like, whoa. He goes to the window, he sees the kid walking, and asks the kid, what day is it? And the kid said, it's Christmas Day. And then he said, and it's the point of this story is, I didn't miss it. Right? He still has time.
Right.
He's got time to be this happy, joyful person that he really was as a child, right? He's still here. So the event says if there's a goal that you want to have, be, or do, and you don't accomplish it in 5 years, what does it feel like? What does it sound like? A double it, triple it, quadruple it. Now, there's 20,000 people at this event, right? We go 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. And at 50, I already knew what it was like not to do something that I really wanted to do after 20 or more years. And the regret of that is powerfully painful. Not becoming that thing, doing that thing for fear, right? I've learned over my life that fear is the root of all problems. And so, you kind of come out of it and you're like, oh, right. Shaking it off the tears, and listen, people wailing with regret all around me. It was scary, So then I drove out there and it was in Dallas, Texas, and I'm driving back and I said, okay, what do I need to do? I have to find an agent. So the two major things that got me to that next step was I had to decide, one, I was that actor that I said I was. Accept it. Power is not given. It's assumed, right? So assume the position. One, assume it, and then kind of keep that dream sort of tight, not tell everybody, right? Too much energy is wasted. Then people like to say, you're not going to do that. So then you have to take steps. So I started looking for an agent. I had some headshots and a lot of on-camera experience with my video production work and a ton in automotive as well, And so I had some stuff to submit. And so I submitted to all these agents in Chicago, and they're all were saying no. This was last January, January 24.
Right.
And so I thought, well, I already said yes, right? So what do I have to do in order to make this work? So the idea of assuming the position, acting as if it's true, right?
Yes.
So I had to take measures, move forward just a little, right? People think it's got to happen right away or the big thing, right away. But you have to move forward just a little and then a little again, gaining all the things you need to when you get to that next step, you're prepared. So what did I do? I said, I'm going to act as if I am that actor I want to be. And when you audition today, by the way, you do what's called a self-tape and submit it. All right. If you get a call back, then you go into the place. So I made these 3 self-tapes as if I were auditioning for a TV show called Ted Lasso. Do you know Ted Lasso?
I've watched it 4 times all the way through.
They got a 4th season coming. Did you know?
I know, and I'm going to watch all of it again before season 4 happens.
I started myself too. So I made these 3 scenes from Ted Lasso that had different emotional weights to show some range. And I just put it out there, acting as if I was that guy. And an agent saw them and reached out to me and ultimately signed me.
Nice.
That was in April of 24. In August, I got hired on the TV show Chicago PD. And I played this character called Sergeant John Montgomery. It's told to me that's going to be a recurring role. So hopefully next season, I'll come back a time or 2.
Right.
And it was a dream come true. I mean, right in front of my eyes happening. And my scenes were with all the leads.
Have you let Tony know?
I did.
Okay.
I did. So I sent pictures and all that stuff. I mean, what an, and I've had several conversations with some of his people, right? And they hear the story and they're like, that's amazing, And so the biggest accomplishments with this being an actor thing is the first part, deciding it was true where I stood before it was true in reality, right? And then there I was on set, had 2 days worth of shooting, had my own trailer. That first day in my trailer, they come knocking on my door. It was a night shoot, so I was resting in the trailer, and I turned the heater on. It was a chilly morning in September. You turn on the little fire or the little heater, and it looked a little fireplace. So I'm like tripping. I was like, I'm a little fireplace going on, which I love, and I'm just waiting, listening to music. They come knocking on my door, and they said, "Hey, Mr. Hudson, we have Portillo's." I said, "Okay, I'll be right out." And then before I know it, they're knocking on my door saying, "We're ready for you." So now I walk out of the trailer.
The I'm a Car Chick podcast is a proud sponsor of the Social Grenade podcast. Listen now.
And I'm walking down, and we were in a forest preserve, and the scene was down by a river. And I'm seeing the actors that I did the table read with, right? We did a Zoom table read. So they're noticing me, and they notice, okay, who's playing Sergeant John Montgomery? They read the script, right? They know. So who's going to be this day player? And then I show up, and we had such great connection. They were all so amazing. I was so blown away how everybody on that set, from the craft service person to the lead actor, how everybody treated everybody like they were a vital part of that production. And I was included in that list. It was incredible.
I love it.
The biggest thing that I've done so far is Chicago PD. I audition all the time. I get a ton of auditions. And my agent said to me recently, Dave, when you first came to us, we had to pitch you to these casting directors. Now they're requesting you. And I can tell because I get auditions. I mean, I get 2 auditions a week on average.
Nice.
I had 3 callbacks last week.
I love that.
I didn't book them, but that's okay.
The part where you're saying like acting as if, like, I'm going to tell you, like, we have in our business, so it's myself and my business partner, and then our executive leadership team, and we decided in 2019, I believe, that we were going to sign up for EOS, right? If you know what EOS is.
So yeah. Mm-hmm.
We decided that we were going to invest in ourselves as a company. We'd already been in business since 2013, but we just kept cycling through the same crap. And so we decided that we were going to hire an implementer, EOS implementer, and go forward with that. And one of the things that we were putting on our goals boards were, I mean, like, probably not even the first time, like probably, and you meet with them quarterly, they come in or you go to them, was that we wanted to have a $10 million a year business. And he just stopped and he goes, okay, let's look at all of you and go, are all of you $10 million leaders? If it happened tomorrow, are you already prepared to lead a team that runs a $10 million business? And if you're not, what are you going to do to get prepared to be that leader before the business comes? Because you can't wait until you get there and then decide, okay, now I've got to elevate to this thing. He's like, you have to elevate beforehand. You have to act as if you are already running a $10 million business before that day happens. Right. And so that was like super. As a matter of fact, 2 of my executive leadership team that are younger, they're both like 30. They walked out of there and then left and came home and gave us their notice. They were so freaked out by that they weren't those people. And they were like, we don't know how to get there. And I had to talk them off the ledge and go, stop. We all have to get here. We all have to get here together, and we're all going to get there together. I'm not a $10 million leader either at that time. And so they took that to heart so much. They were just like, I don't know how to be that person. And maybe I'm not the right person for this job. And so we literally just walked them back through this and went, look, this is what it looks like.
Wow. What a powerful situation that is.
For sure.
Wow. Hey, congratulations.
Thanks. So then what does your next 5 years look like in your acting as if scenario? Who are you acting as if right now?
So there's a couple things, and it's all sort of the same thing to me. The acting, the producing, directing. I get on stage and I have a talk too, Mm-hmm. And so all these things are who I am, and they're all sort of the same to me. So what I hope for, or what I believe that I am, is, it pertains to automotive, the most creative automotive video producer out there, and I've worked with some clients, and we've done some fun creative stuff. I had this client, we did it for them for several years. And the 4 daughters were sort of the face of the organization. And here in Chicago, there was another 4-daughter business that was a how should I say, what was it? A furniture business. Okay. So they got these 4 daughters here. They got these $4 here, and these commercials are playing. And so they're saying, Dave, you're making us famous. We're walking out and we're in public, and people are coming up to us saying, I love the videos that you're making, your commercials. We love it. You're so much better than those girls making the commercials for. They're telling me, like, so that was such an honor to hear, right? And so with them, I took them, okay, I said they're sisters, right? And being a sibling, and coming from a large family with cousins and stuff, I know what the bickering's all about. And I
Mhm.
thought maybe we can add some of that. So there was always a little of that little, challenging between them. And they were just these cute, fun pieces, and they were beautiful, and it was just a lot of fun. And we did that for a couple years. Sometimes you do that, and then they just sort of things sort of stop. You know, and so I like to try to create these campaigns. I did some work with a group here called Roche Cars, and they wanted a campaign of stuff. And their whole idea, Joe Webb's idea actually was, let's bring the old jingle back. They used to have this jingle back in the day, and let's bring the jingle back. So we had this campaign of 4 commercials dealing with bringing the jingle back. So they're not selling cars, 29,995, come in now. It's nothing like that. It was storytelling,
Mhm.
filmmaking. And I was always so pleased with Joe Webb. Every time he'd introduce me as either his best friend or his filmmaker best friend.
That's funny.
So the next 5 years, I really want to really stick to automotive. Like I say, I have a real kinship for
Mhm.
that world. And I want to.
Do you address it like as a storyteller? Like, do you come up with a scenario for like without the client, right? Go, I'm writing like screenplays or exactly whatever commercials for automotive. And I don't know, I think they're all good. And then you've got them. I think about the guy on Elf, right? That came with his little notebook full of stories of the tender tomato, it was too fragile, and the asparagus made the pea stink. And I think about like, do you have a book of those, like all written out going, you know what? Okay, this dealership right here, page 97, that's going to be the perfect scenario for them.
I'll show you something. I got these books sitting right here. Look at, I got 2 of them just right here.
Love it.
That ideas come, and I'll write ideas, and sometimes they come from nowhere, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're thinking on a client, and that's what happens with me a lot. I'll go, okay, this is what we want to do. I will just sort of get silent, take the dog for a walk, right? Go to the gym,
Mm-hmm.
not stress on the idea and allow it to come, right? It's a tactic, right? It's a formula, really. And so then they come, and then you start, writing it down and getting feverish with it, and you make it happen, and then you pitch it, and more times than not, they're like, yeah, let's go for it.
So I think about, so like when you say all of this stuff right here, I think about social media, right? So you're talking about your whole process, and I write things down, right? Whatsoever, but I don't see you telling me that story on social media. I don't see you like with a camera over your shoulder, writing your ideas in your book for what the next great automotive campaign would be, or the walking with your dog and then voiceovering it afterwards, talking about, I had this great idea today. My dog and I were walking, blah, blah, blah. And I thought about this great campaign for this automotive. If you're like in the Midwest, I think this would work for your dealership. You know what I'm saying? Telling people what you do and how you do it. You know what I'm saying? Like to me, that's exactly what I see whenever you start talking about what you're doing is I want to see behind the scenes. And then I want them to know, why are they hiring Dave?
I love
Because
that.
they bought into Dave's story. Whether it's a video of Dave sitting in the ice bath with his with his notebook, writing, the greatest automotive commercial ever. You know what I'm saying? With the epic sounds from like Star Wars, bum, 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 bum. You know what I'm saying? And he's pinning this up. So I see the social media side of this, where I don't see like the story of the commercials, like gun to my head. You'd have to shoot me just point blank because I couldn't do it. However, I think behind the scenes and why people want to do business with me is because somewhere along the lines, you very rarely see me pitching anything. Like very rarely do you see me pitching Social Grenade or SCP Agency or Epic BDC. I just don't do it. They just know who I am because I tell them the stories of what an idiot I am, or what's going on in my life, and then they've bought into me. And then now, whenever I have people seek me out, and you probably do too, and they're just like, "Oh my gosh, I know you're the social media person, but I don't know exactly what you do." And I'm like, great, let's get on a call. And then I will tell them then, because I don't need them to buy before I know what their problem is. I've got to find out what their problem is so I can make a solution. But I think about the behind the scenes a lot. And I think about socially, how can I help people to know, like, and trust me? so that when someone goes, Dave Hudson, they're like, oh my God, yes, we know Dave Hudson. And they've never met you face to face, but
Right.
they think they have
Right.
because they've been involved in your life.
Yeah. True. Yeah. That's all great suggestions. And I don't do that enough. I do some of that kind of stuff, but it typically deals with mindset stuff. You know what I mean? Talking about the acting as if, you know, I started doing a thing here recently, because I just felt compelled to, and I always knew that I should. And I was told this throughout my whole life that I should be a teacher, school teacher. And I had other plans, but somehow that always really resonated with me. So, I started substitute teaching. And so maybe a couple times a month, 3 or 4 times a month, maybe once a week, maybe twice a week, just depending on what my schedule looks like. I've been substitute teaching in high school. And so I get up there and talk with these kids, and I give a 15-minute little motivational talk, talking about mainly progress equals happiness, right? If we're not feeling happy about something, we're probably not progressing in somewhere. So
Right.
it's like, I tell people, these kids, make your bed first thing, do the dishes. School's great. You're handed assignments, symbols of progress all around you, right? So I go through it, and listen, it's been impactful for not only me, but these kids. It's
Yeah.
been a beautiful thing. And so the point really there is I've been posting a lot more talking about the struggle, right? The struggle is not here to destroy us. It's here to refine us, right? Gold is refined in fire. Diamonds, right, made under extreme pressure. So when these struggles are happening, you got to know it's for me. It's here to teach me something, to protect me to that next level, right?
Right.
So I do a lot of that type of posts, but I love where your head's at with some of these cool behind the scenes talking about. I love the idea of either sitting in the ice bath or whatever, and there I am writing the next great automotive campaign.
That's right.
That's cool stuff. I'm going to do that. That's what I'm up to this week.
Especially you, like you're a videographer, right? Like you've got all of the tools that you need whatsoever. Like you should be capturing so much content. I'm not even kidding you. I capture some of the dumbest. I video everything, and I'm not a videographer. I opened my pool this weekend, and I set my iPhone up on one of my lawn chairs, and I just time lapse the entire thing of us taking the cover off, power washing the deck, throwing the chemicals in, doing all the stuff with my grandkids came over and helped. And then I'm like, I'm going to use that. I don't know what for, but I'm going to use it. Yeah. And then today, on my way to work, I filmed a video, which I need to post. I haven't yet because this. And the video is, you know what? If you're looking for people who resonate with you and all you're posting as a salesperson are happy customers that you sold a vehicle to or anything about selling a car, your audience is going to be very small, the people that will resonate with you.
Yeah.
However, if you had a honey-do list today, or you went to Lowe's and had to get some stuff because it's springtime, or you went fishing, or you did some things with the kids this weekend, and then you post about that, now a bunch of other people can relate to you and they can relate to who you are. And then when you post what you do, and they're like going, hey, I remember that guy. And so we want to take them down a path. So I made the video about telling them to post something about what they did this weekend. And so then I'm going to take my time lapse opening my pool video. And this is going to be like, hey, this is what I did this weekend. If I'm making a call to action to all the salespeople to do this thing, I'm going to do it myself too and go, I got all my grandkids together and we opened my pool and here's what it looked like. And then that video is going to go out. And then people are going to be like, oh my God, I hate opening my pool. I can't believe you did it yourself. We always hire a guy. Well, there's not enough guys in our town to do that. Service industry is crap.
Epic BDC is a proud sponsor of the Social Grenade podcast. Tune in.
And so I think about my life as content. Like everything is content. Like I have a 150-pound Rottweiler that literally destroyed the door that goes out to my backyard from my garage because he got mad because I locked him out. I put the little slider in the doggy door. And I think about him like Jason Kelsey. Like I think he shouldered down and literally hit that door like it was a tush push and he was going to get into end zone. It's how I think he did it because he destroyed that door. And then so I've made that video. I have not posted that one yet, but like all that stuff is just stuff that just makes me relatable to anybody who has a dog that's an asshole. You know what I'm saying? Like everyone's like, oh, my cute little sweetie. And I'm like, yeah, look at this turd face.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, this is what he did. Now I have to worry about buying a new door right there and then cutting a hole in it for a doggy door again, because that's how that beast gets in and out. Anyways.
Relatability. You're right.
Yeah. So I think about my life as content, all of the fun stuff, all the stupid stuff. I made a video this weekend about the fact that I have invisible eyebrows if they're not drawn on. And that's what happens to men and women. You'll start seeing your eyebrows are going to get lighter and lighter and lighter. They're probably really dark when you were younger. And then now, like the ability for you to tell people when you're angry or when you're surprised, right? All of those things is like going to be harder and harder for you to do as your eyebrows become invisible. That is stupid content, right? It just is. And people can relate to it because they're like, oh my gosh, I overplucked in the 80s. And so now I have these little tiny skinny lines, blah, blah, blah. It's stupid. But it's all of the things that are just make up who you are as a person. And we're like, oh, that's not interesting. Nobody cares. Really, if you saw the people that commented on my eyebrow video, they're like, girl, get your microblading done. It lasts for like years, blah. And I was like, yeah, I did it one time. I look like Angry Birds. They got the wrong color. And then I was stuck Angry Bird for like 3 years. So I think about that. And so every time, and I don't think in normal media circles like some people do, I think about short little snippets of life. And then who will that relate? Who will that relate to? And then how are they relevant to me? If I'm speaking to them, what do I want to say to them? What do I want to tell them about me that will make them someday go, that dork, I'm hiring him.
Yeah.
You know, that woman, I know it's unusual that a woman that is 60 years old is in automotive and in social media. Why are we hiring her? Because she's the damn best. That's why.
Right.
Because I know everything about her and I love everything she puts out. And I want our brand to reflect how she sees the world.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's great suggestions, even for those dealers and those salespeople, especially. Yeah.
Absolutely. And I think that, you know, you taking us behind the scenes, like I would gobble that up every day. I want to know how your brain thinks. I want to know how you get there. Doesn't mean I'm going to duplicate it because I'm not inside Dave's brain, but I want to know what your processes are. You know, I think I would make a video that's just like that scene from Elf, and it'd be you, and then you just stitch it side by side, and you're like, you know what I'm saying? I think it would be so damn funny because I mean, not the peach. The peach is too tender. We couldn't do that story. It was so funny. You know what I'm saying? I think it would just be hysterical.
I love it. I'm going to consider what that means and to put together a handful of those and get those shot. I love it.
Yeah, they'll be fun. They'll be fun. And then just like, you know, like there's a lot of dealers right now that are doing behind the scenes stuff. Like when you have, and you probably have a backup iPhone. Most of us do just for content.
Mm-hmm.
When you're having those auditions, also they're calling you on the phone and talking to you about something you've submitted. I don't know if you've seen them, but a lot of general sales managers or general managers have their phone just propped up at their computer and it's videoing them while they're having these conversations. And so people get to be on the other side of that, you know, and then you can record for an hour if you want to, and then you decide, you know, what 30 seconds or 1 minute that you want to include, you know what I'm saying? And then give us all a peek of what it looks like whenever your agent calls and tells you, I've got something for you.
Yeah.
And you're like, what is it? And you know, he's calling, hey, dude, I'm going to call you in 10 minutes. And you're like, fantastic. Get your lights on, get prepared, and be ready to video that because I want to see what it sounds like. I mean, I don't want to be an actor.
The show was recorded when I got the role for Chicago PD.
I bet. Did you cry?
No, but when I left after the second day of filming, I did.
I bet.
So I'm leaving. So now it's sort of over. I did it, and I had such great compliments. I've discovered the X factor in life is likability, right? And the only way to be liked is to like someone first, right? So, and for me, it's easy because I just do like people. I want people to be well. I want to hear their story. I want them to be seen and heard when they're in front of me, you know? And so that was no different when I was on set. So the last thing I heard from the production coordinator as I'm leaving, he said, hey man, I just want you to know, everyone here thinks you're awesome. And I'm like, you know, and so I get into my vehicle and before I can even start going, I just started crying. Yeah.
I'm reading a book right now. I'm reading Mel Robbins' Let Them.
Let Them, right.
Have you yet?
I know of it, and I've seen some clips, and I've seen some videos on it, but I haven't read the book. And when I say read, I mean listen to.
So I have it on Audible, so I'm listening to it. And so she's talking about right now, she had moved to this small town, like population 3,000. And for the first year, she was like, I'm miserable. None of my friends are here. I don't know anybody here. I mean, she goes, it was just horrible. Like I was so lonely and I just didn't have any. And she goes, and then on this walk with her daughters, and she was just crying and telling them like how much I hate it here. And she goes, and I had in the past when they were in school, my daughter wanted to come home from college because she was so lonely. It was her first year at that college. And she said, no, you go into the cafeteria, sit down, find somebody new and sit down and just talk to them and do that every day. Find a different person every day. And then if at the end of 1 year, the next year, you're still lonely and you have no friends, then I'll let you come back home and you can go to community college. And so it obviously worked out like we know it did, that she found her world's greatest best friend at college that year by doing those things. So whenever she was in this town of 3,000 and she had no friends, her daughters were walking with her and they're like, well, have you went and said hello to anybody? Have you like introduced yourself and said, hey, I'm Mel. I live here now. These are the things I like to do. And she was like, no. And so while they were walking, they had walked past this lady's house. And she goes, I've met the lady that lives there. I passed her on my walk. Or she goes, I passed her on my walk one time. She said hello and introduced herself. And she goes, their daughter said, well, have you gone and asked her to do anything? And she's like, no. And so they literally marched her right up to the front door of that house and made her. I mean, you think about Mel Robbins. She doesn't seem like this would be a struggle for her, right? We don't know what's inside people's ears, what's between their ears. And so knocks on the door and her husband answers his phone and she's like, hello, is so-and-so here? And he's like, yeah. And so the lady comes over. She goes, oh my God, I'm so glad to see you. She's like, we're like the best buds now. And so one of the things she was talking about in the chapter I was reading this morning was, she goes, I go to the same coffee house like every week. And the same people are there. It's a town of 3,000. The same people are there just about every time I go. She goes, but this time, she goes, she goes, we call it doing it first. She goes, I asked the barista what his name was, and he told me his name. And she goes, as soon as I got my coffee, I went back to my table and I opened up a contact and I put the coffee house as the contact. And in the notes, I put Kenny, the barista. She goes, then I saw this couple that was sitting there, just this adorable, beautiful couple. And I introduced myself to them and told them, hey, I just moved here a year ago. I'm just introducing myself. They had just moved there a year ago too. And so she went back to her little note tab and she goes, I just did it first. She goes, if you're sitting back waiting on somebody to be the first one to be kind, to be the first one to say hello, she's like, you'll be sitting there forever. She's like, you be the first one.
Right.
You stick the hand out first.
Right.
And I relate to this because I'm going to always go back to social media because that's my gig. In social media, if you want people to follow and engage with your content, you have to do it first.
Right.
You have to go out and engage with their content first. And not just because the people will then reciprocate, the algorithm watches it and goes, hey, this guy is part of a community. This gal is part of a community. Let's give them some reach because they're playing how we want them to play. Yeah. And so on the things that were taught as little kids, we forget when we get older, and then it works like that out in the digital world as well.
Yeah, right. That makes perfect sense. Of course. Yeah, right. Be the first.
Be the first.
Waiting. And then, oh, look, my life is over. Forget about it.
Right. I mean, I wait for nobody. Matter of fact, there was a time when I wasn't always like a public speaker. Like I wasn't comfortable with it. Even like I was on a worship team in church and singing, even if I was with a group, I was fine. If I were singing by myself, I would have like major anxiety about it. And so, I decided one year, whenever we were pretty young in our business, like I think it was probably maybe 2016. So we started our company in 2013. And if you knew my business partner, Beverly, she's absolutely lovely. She's like 5'9". She's blonde. She was a flight attendant for years. So she's always naturally thin. And I mean, she just is a lovely human. And she never, ever, ever wants to be in the spotlight. She even grew up a pageant queen. Like she was Miss Teen Missouri. And so, but like of the two of us, like she'd rather be in the shadows. And So, but one of us needed to be in front. And so I told her one year, I said, I think I'm going to speak on 5 stages this year. And she's like, what? And I'm like, I'm going to speak on 5 stages. I'm going to apply to everything I can apply to. And my goal is 5 this year. And she's like, well, what are you going to speak about? I'm like, I don't know. I have no idea. I said, I'm going to come up with it at the time. And so the speaker process for most events is pretty arduous, because when you can't just sit down and go, I apply and you go. Like, you need your bio, you need your subject, you need your title, you need like the little spinny, what are they going to push out and all of the publications. You have to record a video and then edit it down to 1.5 minutes. Oh my gosh. I can't say anything in 1.5 minutes. I promise you. I'm like taking out every breath. I'm like editing every breath.
Right.
Oh my God, I took a breath there. Get rid of that because I need that half a second. Yeah. And I missed it by 1. I got on 4 stages that first year. I missed it by 1 and I was like, winning, don't care. That's a win. That's a win.
Big win.
And now this year, I am delivering my very first keynote. And it wasn't because like someone said, hey, do you want to do a keynote? No, you know what I did? I went, hey, I want to do a keynote. They're like, are you speaking this year? I'm like, can I have a keynote? Because that's what I want. They're like, yes. I'm like, okay, thank you.
Wow. For that's amazing.
Yeah. And so, it's not something I'm comfortable with. I'm comfortable teaching people, like you do in classes. I'm comfortable teaching them in a session, but a keynote is vulnerability, right? You know that you've delivered amazing keynote. And I know that I'm not typically somebody who gets vulnerable with anybody. And so I'm working with a coach that is like the head of Toastmasters, and I'm like rolling it out to her like in pieces. Like, she works with me every week. So we're going to get this dialed in. And to me, it is a bigger deal than the 5 stages.
Yeah.
Like, the closing keynote at Women in Automotive is going to be the thing that I'm like, okay, I may finish on that. Never speak again. I don't know.
No, that'll just be the beginning.
So it's interesting, but it's one of those things, right? Where it's not like someone goes, oh, Robin, I think your story is amazing. Would you like to do a keynote? They don't do that. You have to step forward and you have to advocate for yourself. You have to say, I have something to say. And I think your audience is really going to enjoy it or align with it or resonate with it. But you can't just sit back and think that people are going to come to you first. You have to be the one.
It's true. And that's been a struggle with me for most of my career for 2 reasons. One, some of the times it does just come to me based on relationship. And 2, it's the fear of hunting, I guess, the fear of rejection, that I've really had to work on throughout my life. And sometimes I tell people this and they're like, really? They can't see that in me, but I know me, I know what that's like. I know how that feels. I try to act as if when I need to really, and I'll do that. And then I tell myself, man, you could do this every day. Right.
The I'm a Car Chick podcast is a proud sponsor of the Social Grenade podcast. Listen now.
One of the things that I think helped me a ton with that was in 2007, I had a 20-year-old son that died in a motorcycle accident. And after you get through all of that and you are on the other side of the heavy year 1 grieving, right? On the other side of that, I was unstoppable because the worst thing in life that could happen to me did happen and I survived it. So you fucking telling me no, I don't care. You know what I'm saying? I don't care. Okay, next. There's nothing that you can say to me that would hurt worse than anything I've been through. So I'll just keep asking and you could just keep saying no. I don't care. So like for you, Dave, I would say, what is the worst thing that you've been through and you survived it? And no is negligible. It is
right.
So small.
Right. Right. I love it. Are you asking me what's the worst thing I've been through?
Yeah.
Well, this past October, they thought I might have had prostate cancer. And so I went through like a 2-month period, a lot of pain and uncertainty. And It was insane. And in the midst of that, it was right when the show was airing.
What should have been the high point of your life?
Well, not only that, but in August, when I got hired on the show, the woman that I've been with for 12 years left. So I'm in this table read with these actors having this dream come true the day she moved out. Right. So I have this dream coming true, like, oh my God, this is happening. And another one dying all at the same time. And then they're saying you might have prostate cancer. So I went through a really dark fall, and I love fall and all that. And that's why, and it was such a great time of year always. And it was just very painful. And it was, what's that?
Emotionally or physically?
All of it.
Okay.
All of it. So that was tough. So yeah, right now it's like, being on the other side of it. I'm here. I have time. I'm alive. There's so much that I can bring to the table. And so when I tell these kids this, and this is one of the pillars of the conversation, as soon as you hear that voice saying you're not worthy, you got to know it's a lie. It's a lie straight from the bowels of hell. Right. And it's like, and listen, when I tell these kids that, I'm an emotional dude, right? So it's tough for me to hold it together sometimes, right? And so these kids are like looking at me, they'll come up and they say, you have no idea how bad I need to hear that right now. Tell me, kids need to hear that right now.
For sure.
So that's it, as soon as the voice starts saying, that's not going to happen. You're not worthy. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. All those things, all those negative things, I have to. And it's not like one day I decided, well, I'm not going to believe that voice. And then that voice stops. Right. Sometimes moment by moment, like I'll be done with this podcast. Right. And I'm really enjoying the conversation and I feel very good about it and all that stuff. I'll leave it. And then a voice is going to come up and say, who are you to say anything about anything?
The thing is like, so I tell people this all the time, like whenever they have the self-limiting beliefs, right? And they'll go, but you know what, there's other people that know more about this. And I said, you know what, you know why I call myself an expert? And I do call myself an expert in social media. And it's because if I'm talking to you and I know more than you do, in this scenario, I am the expert.
Right.
And at any given time, I can be in a group of 5 or 6 people. And if I know more than 2 of the people there, then I am an expert. And so I don't have to go, oh, but somebody knows more than me. You know what? Somebody knew more than Einstein. They just didn't ever show it to anybody.
Sure.
Somebody was more intelligent than Elon, but they just didn't like execute on it, right? They never told anybody that that's who they were. And so I always think about that and go, you know what? And especially whenever so my executive leadership team is all women, and it's us 2 old bats and then the 2 youngsters, right? And so constantly they will have that, like, who am I to speak on a stage? Like I have to push them. I had to push them to start a podcast. I had to push them to speak on a stage. And I went, look, if you know more than anybody sitting in the audience, someone is going to walk away with something valuable today because you were not afraid to open your mouth. And so you're giving. And even if somebody in the audience already knew it, but maybe they forgot it, and you bringing it back to the service went, oh yeah, I forgot about that. That's a really great tactic that we should implement. I'm so glad Shasta brought that back up.
Yeah.
I said, so never be afraid to give everything that you have. If someone walks away and went, I got nothing out of that. So what? You did. You got the experience of standing on a stage and delivering to somebody. And then the next time you'll be better. And the next time you'll be better.
And that statement right there, what if no one gets anything out of that? That's not even the truth. People are going to get something out of it, because if you're on stage and you had the wherewithal to get to that point, even if you think like, oh, I can't, someone's going to get something out of it. I've heard one time, to be an expert, you just need to know 10% more than the person you're talking to.
Yeah.
I'm just a little farther along down this road than you are. Here's how I did it. and that's good information for you.
And, there's so much content that's out there available, especially like in my area. There's so many experts out there in AI and in social media and all of those things that for myself, I spend one weekend day. So whether it's Saturday or whether it's Sunday, just in classes. So, so speaking of Tony Robbins, like his event just ended, right? He just had a 3-day event, and I was really,
I did it.
Yeah, I was able to get into like 1 or 2 sessions, but luckily it's all recorded and I could go back and consume it at my own pace because that I can't pay attention that long anyways. And so, but I spend like right now I'm spending, 1 weekend day a week, literally just studying AI or YouTube strategies or something, because it moves so fast that if I don't give myself that dedicated time, and it's probably generally anywhere from 6 to 8 hours that I spend doing and perfecting something that I want to learn this weekend so that I can bring it to people and go, look, you may not have access to my friend Jeff J. Hunter, who trained me on how to use Manus AI to create a proposal, and it literally turns it into a website at the end of it. You may not have access to him. He may not be in your circle of influence where he is mine. Or you may not have access to any of the YouTube strategists that I follow, or Dan Martell, or any of that, right? Like, and so if I spent time learning it, all I want to do is share it, not so that I can look like it was my content. Like I will tell you, like everything I look. Like I listen to Mel Robbins when I'm in the shower or put my makeup on. That's when I get my Mel Robbins time, right? I get to listen to that and then share that however. And so that's what makes me an expert, is because I'm continually in education about what does this industry look like? Where is it moving to? How can we facilitate that movement for you too? And so I think anybody who spends any time studying their craft is 100 miles down the road to the guy that spent a week and didn't learn anything.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I often say like, and with the imposter syndromes, this kind of stuff, it's if I'm listening to somebody, and I do often listen to a lot of these different folks, and I gain these insights, and sometimes messages come directly to me, right? And like, wow, that makes perfect sense. And most of the time, I'm repeating stuff that I learned, right? And there's nothing. I mean, that's what we're supposed to be doing.
Yes.
So it's not like I have to like I'm some kind of guru where it all just sort of comes to me.
Yeah. This is all original content. No, it isn't.
Right. That's insane. Right. Now I'm not necessarily quoting where I heard things from. I just, I'll speak it. But I'll let people know. Hey, listen. This came to me by way of this way, that way, and I'll let folks know where I heard this or whatever. And so yeah, I'm like you too. Daily, I'm consuming that type of act as if content. For me, that's where I live. It's that. You ask, okay, Dave, what's 5 years look like for you? 1, I want to be known as the most creative guy in automotive.
Love it.
Now's the time. I'm old enough and young enough, right? Yep. Now's the perfect time. I'm also a trainer. I get into these dealerships and I'll train sales staff or whoever how to make better stories with the phone, better shot composition, what to do with lighting, walk into the shot, walk out of the shot composition, visual storytelling. If it doesn't sound good, like get the mics. Because if it doesn't sound good, then it's no good. People can forgive a bad shot, but they don't forgive bad sound. And you might as well not put anything out there, right? If it's not going to, use a couple of these strategies, to make it look great. The other thing that I want to do in these next 5 years, and I also want to get on more stages. It's like I'm working with these kids. So the next evolution in that is this summer, one of the things I'm going to be doing is going to all the principals, all the high schools in the area, introducing myself, telling them who I am, and start doing assemblies. These kids even suggested that to me. They're like, nice. You need to do assemblies. They do this group of girls, you need to do a podcast. So I'm being, with all the trauma that's happened in my life, and there's been some. You, me, everybody. That's what connects us.
Yeah. Nobody gets out unscathed.
Nobody gets out. That's what really connects us. That's what makes us the same.
Yeah.
If I'm on top of the hill because I've got these triumphs and you're on top of the hill, you got these triumphs, we're separate.
Yeah.
Where they say it's lonely at the top. Now, I'm not saying don't strive for the top. Yes, strive for the top. Get there, and then you get the next one, keep on going. But ultimately, it's the valley that makes us connected. Right?
And I think that's probably one of the things that, and I'm a boomer, like I'm like the very last minute of a boomer, right? Like another month, and I was probably Gen X. But I think about, one of the things I think about a lot is the suicide rate with young people right now. And a lot of parents are not going to like what I have to say, but you haven't given your kids the tools to fail.
Right.
You haven't taught them what failure feels like and how to process it in a healthy manner. You've caught them right before they fail every time and never let them get there to that point. And then what happens is when something actually happens and you can't save them from it, they don't know how to process it. Right. They do not know how to process failure or rejection or any of those things, which they have to experience. You're not going to be protecting them their whole life. So, I mean, I know that, boomers and Gen Xs are probably the worst about like, quit giving them participation trophies. For God's sake, my daughter got one year. She was the worst softball player on the whole field. I was mortified to have to sit there and watch her because she was so bad and she didn't give a crap. And then they gave her a trophy. And I don't know if you know, but like when you're walking out, in the little softball field, there's always those 55-gallon drums that they have for trash. I'm like, just put it in there. You did not earn anything. It's not even going to the house. Throw it away. And she's like, my trophy? I'm like, no, it's not your trophy. It's a trophy. Throw it away. You did not win that. You did not contribute. This team did not win. It was like 7th place. I'm like, there is no such thing as 7th place. Throw it away. Right. Yeah. And it's like, you don't get to just because you showed up and then didn't even do your best. Like, crap. You didn't even give it an effort. So no, but I think that we've got to be equipping our young people for failure I don't want them to fail. It's inevitable.
Yeah.
I can't make it through a week without failing at something. Right. And I go, what did I learn from that lesson? Move on and adjust my sails and move on. And if we aren't equipping them at the elementary level, at the adolescent, at that junior high level, at that high school level, they have got to be able to feel failure. And we have a rule here at the office, like if a client fires us, right? That's the ultimate failure in business. A client fires you. Yeah. We're allowed to feel it for one day.
Epic BDC is a proud sponsor of the Social Grenade podcast. Tune in.
Yeah, there you go.
All you get to mourn the loss of that client. And then we have to dig in and go, how did we get here? What other processes do we need to put in place so this feeling never happens again? Right. And what do we do to fix that? We only get one day. I don't want to hear about it 2 days later. I don't want you being mad about it. I don't want you being nothing. I want you to go, what action am I taking because of that failure so that I don't have to feel this feeling again?
Right. Yeah, that's good. Recently I had a callback for a television show called Dark Matter. It's on Apple TV. They shoot in Chicago. And I was super excited about it. And I thought, I'm going to get this again. This is going to happen again, right? And and I didn't get the role. And I told myself I won't be upset about anything when it comes to the acting because this is the extra part of my life. I'm not going to add something just to add more disappointment.
Right.
Just getting the audition is the win. Showing up and doing my best, that's the win. Not winning the prize, that's a different win.
Yeah.
The job is to show up.
Right.
And present in your best way. Getting the job, that's a new job.
Yep.
Whether I'm auditioning and I booking a different job. Auditioning, that's the job as an actor. Booking, that's a different job. As a producer director, pitching and showing up and giving my ideas, that's the job. Getting the job, that's the different job.
Yep.
Right? That's the next level, but right now it's pitching and letting people know how I can serve best.
I used to tell my kids whenever they were younger, if they would be between jobs, I said, you're never between jobs. Okay. Because when you're not working at a place, then your job is finding a job. That means you get up every morning, you put on your chapstick, you put on your iron shirt, and then from 8 in the morning till 5 in the afternoon, you are out looking for a job.
Yeah.
And that's your job. And then when you get the job, now that's your job.
I love it. Yeah, that's a cool way to say it. That's right. Yeah, right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So
And-
Dave, the stages that you're going to get on this year, besides the assemblies, which ones are you going to get on for your career? For
So
your automotive career?
right. I'd love to be at NADA. I'd love to be a digital dealer. I want to be at all those again. And I've spoken at those before. And I want to get on those again and talk about the importance of videos. But what I want to do is like to hire me to come in and produce videos. That's a smart idea. But to hire me also to come in to train everybody how to make their daily videos, that's a great idea too. So I want to have workshops where I can teach,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And here's the problem. Here's the problem with most everybody. They don't do the thing because they don't know how.
Right. That's exactly right. Their barrier to entry to them is way too great.
Right. And I can show them, well, here's how. You know, it's like, okay, so what do I say? What do I say? ChatGPT will tell you what to say. I use it all the time now. As a matter of fact, I'm not real. This is my AI version.
I don't think so, but okay.
You know, so I use it all the time. So I tell them ChatGPT, right? And before ChatGPT, what I was training people to do is use the formula, the hook, the story, the close. Okay. If you're talking about a vehicle.
And think about this. So you're saying a thing, but you're also missing the step before that, right? So many of them don't even know how to create a prompt to get what they need out of ChatGPT. So think about the value that you could create if you posted on Facebook or on whatever social that you love to hang out on. Here's the prompt. If I were going to do X, here's the prompt that I would use within ChatGPT to get the results that I wanted. Blah, 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 blank, blah, 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 blank, blah, 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 blank. Fill them in. And that's the step before it, because like you can go use ChatGPT, but if they don't know how to prime the pump to get the right answer out, like I started using ChatGPT in November 22 when it rolled out.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, like when it rolled out, and then a good friend of mine, Jeff J. Hunter, literally had he had VA staffing. He had virtual staffers that were in the Philippines. He flew to the Philippines, and all of them knuckled down for a month, learning everything they needed to know about AI. In December of 22. Okay. He came back, and in January, he's like, Robin, I got some stuff to show you. And I'm like, dude, let's get on, let's do it. And he's like, it's about the prompt and it's about creating a persona. Right. If you don't know what to tell it, it will never give you the right results back. And he goes, you need to create a persona in there. You need to tell it everything about you, how you copy all of the things you've ever written, anything that you've ever done in the past, so that it can see that and study who you are. And so one of the things, whenever I'm working for a dealership and I go to create the dealership's persona, I tell it everything that I think I know about the dealership. And then I go, what else do you need to know from me to act as my marketing executive for this dealership? And then it'll shoot out about 10 to 15 questions that I have to answer. I'll answer all of them and I'll go, okay, do you think you have it now? Or do you need more information based on what I gave you? I keep asking questions till it goes, nope, this is what I think, blah, 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 blah. And I'll go, okay, let's test it.
Yeah, I'm on that task. I've been doing it like that too. Recently, it's I'll say, okay, so I got this pitch for this construction company. And so I go, give me a list of questions that will, one, inspire them to want to make this video, and two, get us on the same page, right? Mm-hmm. So list of questions, anything else I need to know, so then I get this final list of questions. I send that list of questions to the client. They answer those questions. And right away, what that does for them is they're like, wow, this Dave Hudson, he's really thinking, you know what I mean? Then they'll answer those questions. I'll take that and I'll copy and paste that back into ChatGPT, and I'll ask it, okay, so now create me the pitch, not based on this information, and then create me 3 30-second video scripts based on information. Give me the shot list. It's the assistant that I needed all these years.
Absolutely.
And I still need to go in and do the thing. They still need to trust me. And the whole production process with me is always a fun experience. It's always, I have a client that says that she calls working with me, she calls it the Dave Hudson experience.
That's fun. That's fun.
A beautiful thing for her to say, right? That really is so empowering to me. It means like, wow, I am bringing a nurturing, fun environment so people can be like, wow, this is a lot of fun. We're having a good time making some really great content.
I agree.
So the stages, sorry, I kind of got off track. I want to be at these, and I want to be training people as best I can. So I want to be on NAD. I want to get to Digital Dealer. I want to talk about the 5 videos that they should be using. And then I want to be able to train them how. If there can be like a breakout session.
Mm-hmm.
Use ChatGPT to write your scripts. And then if you're fearful of being on camera and delivering, I can show you how to make pieces that you don't need to be.
Right.
If you enjoy that, I can teach you how to deliver properly, where to pause, how to say certain things, what to do with your face. And then I'll teach you how to edit. I actually have a course.
Really?
I do. I have a course on Thinkific, and it's cheap. It's $50.
Send me the link and I'll drop it in the show notes here so people can go out and absolutely. I think editing is probably one of the things that's the hurdles. So they're like, okay, great. I've got it. I've shot my video. Now what? I even edit my captions. Like if I say a lot, I edit the captions out so that the ums aren't on the screen. Even though you may hear them when I'm saying them, I don't want you reading them.
Right.
So I edit those out. And you know how many people like post their videos with whatever the captions come up with and they never go back and even look and see if the captions are correct?
Yeah, right. Oh yeah. And it'll be like a whole different word. They think, yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh, it makes me crazy. And it'll be like top people too. I'm like, what? Oh, that didn't even, I don't even know. That would just make me crazy. But Dave, I love it. If you had one piece of advice for everybody that's watching this about, I love your motivational stuff so much, but if you had, I know the think as if, but if you had one piece of advice for everybody that they could take away from here today, what would that be?
Pertaining to automotive?
Anything, whoever's watching.
Okay. The one piece of advice, okay, it's this. And I said it earlier. Power is not given. It's assumed. What does that person stand like that you want to be? What do they speak like? How do they talk? What do they listen to? I started listening to different type of music because I wanted to be a different person.
Mm-hmm.
There's different things I wanted to do. And how does that person walk and stand? There's an exercise I'll give to people. Okay. And this is a cool one. All right. Write a letter as if you are that person that you want to be now. Write it as if it's true, thanking your present day self for making those decisions and sticking to it.
And what book are you reading right now?
I'm reading this old book. I'll show it to you. And it's so funny. I was in my studio. I've got a studio in Elgin, and I was doing an audition, and I had this grouping of books that I use as like a prop. Okay. And I grabbed the book to kind of use as a prop, right, in an audition. And then I look at it, this book right here, and I look at it, and it says Dale Carnegie.
Oh, nice.
And the book is How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. And worry is a problem for me and for so many people. Worry. Let me end it with this then. Okay, what I gained out of this book, and at least the first chapter, so Carrier, he invented air conditioning.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so he had a process where he talked about, imagine a giant door like ships. If you had like a ship, right? Okay, back in the day, and underneath it have all the machinery and engines stuff. If there was a breach in the hull, these doors would drop, and basically these waterproofing doors to help protect down the line.
Mm-hmm.
He said, so what he decided to do is imagine a giant door on one side blocking you from the past, and a giant door blocking you from the future, allowing you to be here now and handle what's right in front of you. Okay, my best piece of advice is do what's right in front of you, right? Mm-hmm. And if you want to have happy memories, and if you want to have positive visions, you have to do what's in front of you.
Yep.
Right? Everything that I've seen, every book, everything that I've seen is telling me, be here right now.
Be present.
Right.
It's
So-
funny because like for myself, I don't have the ability, like if I have 3 events coming up, and I do have 3 events coming up right now, I don't have the ability to work on the 1, 2 away. I only have the ability to work on the next one. And when I'm done with it, then I go to work on this next one. You know what I'm saying? Like, and other people have the ability to work on like 5 freaking things at once. I'm like, I don't know how you do that. Like, I can't even book the travel. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm like, I have no idea. Like I was talking to my husband the other night. He's in Montana working right now. And my older 2, I have 5 kids, but okay. So number 2 and number 4 are electricians, and they are working in Washington State. And so one of them is coming home this week right now. He's coming home for the weekend, and him and his wife are coming home. And then then Sawyer will be coming home in July, and like mapping that time out. Well, we're all in a family Facebook Messenger group, so we're always chatting. And so I forgot to ask them the dates. And so I just asked him there, I like, when in July are you guys, when in July are you coming? And my husband's like, babe, I don't know if I can come home in July. And I'm like, I wasn't talking to you. I'm sorry I didn't address the right person. And so I got on the phone with him later. I'm like, I didn't mean for that to sound rude. I'm like, but I just needed to know because I have so much travel in July. I needed to know when they were coming. I was just working on logistics. And then I'm like, I'm probably going to come see you in June. And he's like, when in June? I'm like, I don't know yet, man. I've got these things. I will let you know ahead of time, but I can't even tell you right now when in June, but I will tell you by the end of this week, okay? And he was like, I want some time off too. And I'm like, I understand that. And when I get back to you, you will know.
There's freedom in there. There's freedom in being in the present moment.
Yeah. There is. And I think sometimes it's a little, there are people that are really good at plotting like a whole year worth of stuff. I'm not that person. I think that's what keeps me happy because I don't have to worry. I don't worry about the thing until it's right in front of me. And then I don't worry about it. I'm just processing the stuff that goes on. So it's a handicap and a privilege, I guess.
Absolutely.
Dave, it's always a pleasure when I get to hang out with you, and I appreciate your time so much today that you got to be Dave with us today. And I love all of the aspects of your life that you got to share with us. And I'm so jealous of those school students that get to have you pour into their life on the regular. So, congrats to them for getting that experience too, because there's always that one person when you're a student, there's always that one person that floated into your life, dropped a nugget and left, and you remember them forever.
Right.
And you get the chance to be that guy.
Oh, it's such a blessing. I tell you, it's so beautiful. I love it.
I bet. All right, guys, like and follow for more content just like this. I will drop Dave's Thinkific course down below. If you want to learn how to edit videos, by all means, click on that link. I'm also going to drop all his socials too, so that you can start following his journey through his acting career, through his automotive career, through everything that he does. He's a fun guy to watch. So everybody else, have a great day, and we will see you next week.
See ya. Thank you. Bye.